All right, here's a short video showing the operation of the Maine-Made Best Main Guide model number 2 rotary vise. Powder coated, heavy pedestal base, 6.5 or 7 pounds, knurled brass thumb screw, stainless stem, knurled hand wheel, aluminum. The drag system are these 2 knurled brass thumb nuts. And the way that these work is that they have to first be locked against one another on the spindle, and then hold the hand wheel, and you can move them in and out together. And they place tension on these Delrin thrust washers, which in turn bear against the faces, the front and back face of the spindle housing, and that's what provides drag on the vise jaws. So you can see at present there's no drag, and the spindle, which runs in 2 sealed ball bearings, is simply frictionless as far as that can be achieved, and the jaws just rotate like the wheel of your car or anything else that would operate on a ball bearing system. Now, if you want to add a slight amount of drag, again, hold onto the hand wheel and just give a slight turn. You can see now there's just a slight amount of drag. Again, a little bit more. A little bit more drag, still not very much. A little bit more. Now the vise jaws are easily rotatable, but they will stay relatively in the position where you leave them, regardless of the effect of gravity upon them. And you can continue all the way through, just simply locked in place. And so this is just a sort of drag system that is totally dependent on feel, and you'll obviously get a feel for it once you use it. But again, they have to be locked against one another, and then while gripping the hand wheel, just turn this in and out to tighten the brass thumb nuts against the Delrin thrust washers. You don't want to hang on to this and turn this, because the spindle nose is also threaded onto the spindle, as well as the thumb nuts are operating on a thread on the spindle, and you're effectively tightening 2 things against one another, and that's just going from no drag to ultimate drag, which is just fixed in place. So you always want to hold onto the hand wheel and tighten or loosen that way. And at any time, should these loosen, which is rare, but I guess it could happen, you just want to tighten these against one another again. The hand wheel is held onto the spindle via a brass set screw back here. Then we have the aluminum spindle housing, of course the 2 Delrin thrust washers. There's an aluminum spindle nose. There's an offset arm that you can see here, which is aluminum, and then this is stainless. These are connected via 2 brass set screws, which allow this to go up and down or rotate in 360 degrees. And the offset arm allows for 2 interesting features. One is that there's no obstruction to your hand while you're tying, or to your flies. So if you have a large streamer and there's a big wing or something like that, there's absolutely nothing to get in the way of that. And I have pretty big hands, and you can get your hand all the way in there and all around. So there's absolutely nothing. There's not like a sort of a bent arm or anything like that gets in your way. And also it allows for adjustment in 2 axes, so horizontal and vertical. So the next thing are the jaws. The jaws operate on a cam. There's a brass cam here. You can put a slight touch of grease on the cam if you want over time. It can't hurt. I do, just because it, just a touch. I don't mean a big goober, but just a slight film just eases the operation. But brass itself is very free moving inside of the steel jaws. To operate the jaws, you have a little thumb nut right here, which sets the gap of the jaws there. And you have to obviously open the cam, set the gap here, and then cam that over, and that will tighten the jaws on the hook. And you don't want to ever set it so it's, so you're really forcing the thing. These, because of their length and because of the length of the cam handle and the size of the cam, you can affect huge leverage on holding these hooks. So you don't need to feel like you're forcing the thing. It should be a pretty easy turn. If for whatever reason the hook gets in there and it slips a little bit, rather than tightening the thumb screw here, try changing the position of the hook in the jaws first. The amount of the hook that's held in the jaws is more important than the tension or the leverage that you're affecting on the jaws themselves. So try, for example, you don't want to just hold it like that, which is obviously pretty self-explanatory, but try to get as much surface area of the hook in the jaws as possible, such that you can still obviously tie what you want to tie. But the important thing is the surface area in the jaws of the hook, rather than the absolute amount of pressure that you're putting on the hook itself. So you can see here, I'm just, this is like a one finger kind of thing, and that hook is securely in there and it's not going to slip. So, this is about as much pressure as this is just a pretty easy. I'm certainly not straining myself to close that. It's a one finger kind of job. And, oops, I'm looking at the camera and trying to put the hook in. So, here we go. So, that's obviously securely in there, and I haven't really forced that handle very much. So, that's that. The next thing is adjusting the jaws relative to the axis of the spindle for various size hooks. And to do that, we have this adapter, which you spin into the, oops, we'll have to loosen this a little bit. So this will tell you where the axis of the spindle is. So this is just continuing the axis of the spindle, this needle. And then you can position the jaws relative to this needle here, which will set this on the axis of the rotation of the spindle. And the next thing is the most important, because it's the least self-explanatory. There are these two machine screws here, these round head machine screws. And by loosening these, you can move the jaws in and out to, get them where you'd like them. Now, most of your pressure exerted while fly tying is down. Obviously, you're wrapping like that. And so these two screws have opposite cut threads so that they counteract one another when acted upon by pressure, and they are self-tightening. So this whole assembly will never loosen over time through use. And what I mean by that is this is a right-hand thread, meaning you turn to the right or clockwise to tighten, anti-clockwise to the left to loosen. This here is a left-hand thread, meaning to tighten, you turn to the left, and to loosen, you turn to the right. So again, right hand thread, right tight, left loose, Left-hand thread is the exact opposite. To tighten, you turn to the left. To loosen, you turn to the right. And to remember that, there are only 3 of these round head machine screws in the whole assembly. There's one here on the sight board, one here on the jaws, one here on the spindle nose. And you notice they're color-coded. So the black finished ones are all right-hand thread. The stainless steel, which is just a pure silver, is your left-hand thread. So they're color-coded, and so that's the best way to recognize them. So we'll just loosen this to the left, whoop, loosen this to the right. And what that does is it allows you to position the vise jaws wherever you want them. And then also, by loosening the arms on the offset arm, you can rotate this way, you can move it up and down, do whatever you would like. Whoops, take it out even. So let's tighten that. And then to get it back on center, all you need to do is spin this in and then adjust accordingly wherever you would like the jaws to remain. So again, the black machine screws are right-hand thread, the silver machine screw is a left-hand thread. And that will become readily obvious once you do it. But just remember that, and because if you do the opposite, you're just gonna, not get anywhere fast. So this adapter is what allows you to get the vise jaws on center wherever you decide you'd like them to remain. The next thing is we have an assembly here with a bobbin holder, which swings in and out on this knuckle, and then also a sight board, which also swings in and out and angles back and forth, and you can position it anywhere you would like. I'll just take this off really quickly. It has a matte side on the, whoopsie-daisy, it has a matte side on the front and a glossy side on the back, and then you can position this on any one of these 3 screws. So you see here there is there's a assembly here which swings. You can swing it in and out. You can put this in the front, you can put this in the back. You can also reverse this so that it's lower or higher, and then this also moves up and down the shaft of the vise. So you can get it effectively in any position you want. So you can be using the bobbin holder, then you can swing it out of the way when you don't want it and it's not in your way. One of the things I don't like about a lot of vices is that bobbin holder attaches to the main stem of the vise, and then it's just there, and it's always in your way when you're tying. This is well out of the way, and you can simply swing it out when you don't need it, and swing it in when you do need it. And the same thing with the sight board. You can just you can simply get it anywhere you want and swing it out of the way, or what have you, whatever suits your fancy. And that's just something you'll have to fiddle with a little bit to get set up just the way you like it, and it's pretty intuitive how that works. Let's see. Other than that, there really isn't anything that isn't, I don't think, very self-explanatory. The only thing to remember, again, is just for the drag to work, these 2 thumb nuts have to be tightened against one another and then moved in unison while holding this. This is right-hand thread, that's left-hand thread. To change the vise over to suit a left-hander, This has to be rotated 180 degrees, and then this is put at the top, and this is put at the bottom. So that, again, everything's counteracting one another by the pitch of the thread. Other than that, it's, again, the other thing to remember, this is an interesting finish. This isn't a black oxide finish, which is common on most vices, which comes off and looks kind of crummy. It's kind of chalky. This is a salt bath nitride. So these are heat-treated jaws, so they're harder than the hook, so that the inside faces of the jaws won't deform over time. So they're hardened, but also in the hardening process, this plating is imparted to the steel. And it's the same thing they're currently using now on the insides of gun barrels to harden them and to, so that they won't wear over time or get marred by the passage of the bullet. And it's a really, really nice finish. It's supposedly the best finish for salty environments because of its protective qualities. And I've done all kinds of gnarly things to it